Okay, now let me show you how I do the cutout part before we get to the composite part. Alright, so here is your photograph, and over here in the layers palette, make sure you open this because this is super helpful. I took your photograph, and the first thing I did is click it and drag it down here to make a copy of it, right? I don't need that for now, so I'm going to throw it back away. I also went layer, new layer, whatever, and filled it in with an obnoxious color so I could easily see what I was doing. And I fill stuff in by holding the Alt key and pressing backspace. That's just a keyboard shortcut, I know. So there's the obnoxious layer. That's going to help me see the cutout. Here's her photo. And then this layer is the key. This is a layer. See, the background is still there if you look at the thumbnail. But this is called a layer mask, and that's actually where we do the cutout. And layer masks are a lot better than using the eraser or any other delete tool or something like that, because you're not actually erasing the pixels, you're hiding them with a mask. And so the mask is then editable, and you can fine tune it as you go, and that's great. So the mask is just a black and white layer that's hiding something. That's if the layer mask is black, it hides the picture, and if it's white, it shows the picture. And you get to a layer mask by going layer, layer mask, reveal all. And you can see it added this white canvas next to the photograph. And so I'm going to zoom in to show you how that works. So now I'm going to make sure I click on the layer mask, because if you click here, you're painting on the picture. If you click here and you can see the little white outline, now you're painting on the layer mask. If you have a black paint selected and go to the paintbrush, now whatever you paint will disappear from her photograph. Alright? And you can see a tiny little black spot where I just painted. But the cool part is, oh, I've messed up, I've cut over some of her shoulder. Switch to white paint and you can paint it right back. So this is how you can get into really detailed fine-tuning of your mask to clean up the edges after you do the original cutout. And so now we'll talk about the original cutout. I'm going to get rid of this layer mask, and I'm going to zoom back out. This tool here is called the lasso tool, and if you click on it and hold it, there's the lasso tool that you can basically freehand draw. The lasso tool that uses like sharp points, and then this is the one that came out in the last few years called the magnetic lasso. Super helpful for trying to cut things out. The other tool that's good for selecting things is the magic wand tool. The magic wand tool will select similar colors, and up here it has a tolerance. So this tolerance is very low, and it will only select a couple shades of gray. That's pretty cool. But if you set the tolerance up to like 55, it's going to select a lot more of the picture. You can see what I call the marching ants, these little guys. That's made a selection, and frankly it selected so much of the picture I can't really tell. I guess it selected this area and not this area. So using the magic wand and the lasso together is how I cut things out. I will tell you there's also where is it under? I shouldn't even get into this. There's a tool called like the extract tool or something like that. And I kind of never became a big fan of it because I got pretty good at cutting things out this way, so that's what I do. But if you want to look up the extract tool, it's designed to do this also, to cut out things, specifically like fine pieces of hair and stuff like that. The thing to know about the magic wand tool and the other selection tools like the marquee tool or the magnet or the lasso tool is that if you hold down the shift key, you're adding to your selection. So let me show you that. I'm going to click out here. I just selected a whole bunch of the gray area around her, so that's a good start for my layer mask. If I hold down the shift key, see the little plus sign showed up? Now I'm going to click out here. I just selected more of the gray area. Hold the shift key again. I have all that corner. Now I've selected all, I roughly have selected all of the gray stuff except for what's in here. Shift, click, shift, click. So that's a very quick way to select everything. But you can see it also accidentally, I selected some of her dress, some of her armpit. But this is a good start. You can also subtract from a selection using the Alt key to minus. So if I set the tolerance down to 5, now I want to select a smaller range of colors. And if I hold the Alt key, see how I have a minus sign now? I'm going to go into this area of her dress. Yeah, see, so I can remove some of that from my selection. It's a little messy, but we're getting there. And you can zoom in certainly and get a better look at that stuff. This is going to be a trouble spot right there, I think. Okay, so let me do that real quick. I'm going to change to the lasso tool, and again I'm going to hold down Alt and you can see the little minus sign. Now I kind of lasso this area and now it's removed from my selection. So I'm making sure my selection doesn't include her body. I just want to select the gray area. So you can kind of fine tune and walk through that kind of stuff. Circle all that. There we go. And this was the part that gave me the most trouble the other day, was all this stuff where her dress kind of turned the same color as the background. But this is where the layer mask comes in. It's very cool. So I'm going to say layer now, layer mask, reveal all. And right now I have selected all the gray. That's what the marching ants are. So I'm going to paint everything I've selected black. And again, I do that with Alt backspace. Boom. So there we go. She's been cut out pretty well. You can see that area is a mess, and that's when the editability of the layer mask is so handy. Now keep in mind, you can't paint on the layer mask right now because you still have your selection selected. So if you try to paint, nothing happens because you've already deleted everything. You already painted everything in your selection black. You need to go to select, deselect. And I do that with Control D. There we go. So now, wrong color. Change it back to white because I want to keep white. So I can go in and kind of paint her dress back. And this is where personal preference kind of comes into play. You can walk through and paint stuff back like that if you want. Or, again, using the selection tool, you can select those areas and fill them in with white. I think when I'm fine-tuning, I use the paintbrush a lot. I think I had some spots up in her hat, yeah. So I was going up here. Well, let me show you this. Because this is a relatively straight line, I'm going to use the pointed lasso tool. And this works. You click once, and then it draws a straight line to wherever you click next. So I'm going to click like maybe there, 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 and then just up here, up here. And when it gets close to the beginning, there's a little circle that appears, and that means you're ready to close the loop. Now I've selected this area, and if I paint it black with Alt backspace, boom, got rid of that. Deselect, Control D to deselect. So I cleaned up her hat pretty good. Alright, so there's the basics about how to cut somebody out. Let me show you how the magnetic lasso works, which is another great way to cut stuff out, particularly when you're back. Like you gave me a nice sort of flat color background, so I've made that very useful. But if I let me make a copy, so I'll show you how that tool works. The magnetic lasso looks for differences between two colors and makes the selection for you. So if you click right here and just start dragging the lasso up her armpit, you can see it's setting all those points because it can tell that I want to separate the gray from her skin color. And you just push to the side. That was a mess, but I just hit escape to make that go away. The tricky part is when you're zoomed in like this, if you want to move the image, hold the space bar and then you get a hand. And then you can like drag the image and then let go of the space bar and your tool is back. So you can see I'm going pretty quick and it's like getting it, you know? So it's a really fast tool. And again, I picked sort of an easy spot where her hand is. And if you go somewhere like down here, it's still going to have a little bit more trouble because the colors are so similar. But that's what I did the first time around. I used that magnetic lasso tool and I traced around her whole body. And then in combination with again, I can trace her with the magnetic tool And then while those marching ants are there, I can add to it with the magic wand tool, and the whole time you're growing your selection. Okay, and so those marching ants are key to being able to figure out what you have selected and what you don't have selected. Get rid of that. And so there she is. And again, this takes some time, but you go in here and you need to like fine tune this stuff right in there, and you can do that again with the paintbrush or the selection tool. And then when you have her kind of cut out as well as you want, and again, you can always fine tune it later because you have the layer mask sitting here. Here's the final. I don't know if I have the no, I don't. So here's the photo of the flag, and I blurred that a little bit with this blur tool, so it will give some depth of field. So with that here, I click on her photo, and I can just drag the layer into this and see how it kind of highlights, and then let go. Aha! But she, remember, this image was higher resolution than the image of the flag itself. So this image is 2300 by 2800, and this image is only 1600 by 1200. So she is more pixels than the flag, so that's why she looks gigantic. Easy enough to fix. Control T to transform her. Go up here to select these so that they're locked in sync with each other, and just shrink her like 50% or something. Yeah, pretty good guess. Double click to keep that, and there she is. I mean, and again, you can see kind of my rough edges that I fine tune later and whatever. Another quick tip about Photoshop: when it's shrinking the image to fit it on your screen, things can look a little rougher than they really are. So every now and then you can double click the magnifying glass, and you can see that edge is actually quite good. It just looks shoddy when it's shrinking down. So the other couple tricks I did was I added that drop shadow, and by blurring the background, that kind of created that effect of depth of field, right? See? So now she's got her little drop shadow, and she's standing in front of the flag that's a little softer because she's in focus and it's not. You can do stuff like the drop shadow, like this, effects, drop shadow, and you can see it added a little tiny shadow there. You can just make that bigger and softer. Oh, look at that. That's the artifact that I didn't get rid of yesterday that I fixed today. There was a little tiny line that you can barely see, and that little tiny line is taking on the shadow aspect. So if I say OK to that, that means this, see the white areas? I should just fill that in all with black to make sure that stuff is totally gone. There. I'm going to hold down Shift and draw another box, and I'm going to fill those in with black, and that gets rid of those. So that was the very edge of her photograph. Okay, I did her drop shadow by actually copying her, filling her with a black overlay, and making it transparent and stuff like that. You can do either one. This works perfectly fine. So there's her shadow there also, and that's basically it. I'm not sure what else I need to show you right now. Alright, let's see if I can demo a little bit about how to do this compositing. So here's the photo you took of the girl, and you can see it's showing it at only 16% size because it's actually a huge photo. If I go image size, you can see that it's 2300 pixels by 2800 pixels, so that's a ton of information to work with. Even though it says the resolution is only 72, that's if you were to print this, it would print 32 inches by 39 inches. So without changing, you're not going to change this at all. You can see they're locked because this button is unchecked. These are locked, so you can set the resolution upwards of 300 if you want. And now, if it printed on a piece of paper, it would be 7 inches by 9 inches. But the number of pixels has not changed. So that's an important thing to know about Photoshop. It works in pixels. So let me do that one more time, because if you did want to force it to throw away pixels, or even add pixels, which is never what you want to do, you can click this button, and now you can edit these. So you can purposely shrink your image and change the resolution and stuff like that if you want to. But since this is the original you took, I don't want to do that. But as another example, right, so here's the photo, here's the flag that we first started working with. It's already at 100%. This is as big as it gets. So if we go image size here, you can see this thing's only 600 pixels.
And if it was up at 300 dpi, it's only going to print 2 by 1 inches. So that's why it just doesn't have enough resolution to compare to the photo you took of the girl. So we'll get rid of that. Okay. I'm going to stop now and see if I'm doing this right.